Dr. Elena Rodriguez sat in the dark control room of the research colony. The lights had been failing for weeks now. Outside the thick windows, the orange sky of Kepler 438 bits looked peaceful. But she knew better. Somewhere up there, beyond the clouds, Vectar warships circled their small world like hungry wolves. She pressed the red button on the communication panel one more time. The machine made a weak buzzing sound. The colony's power was almost gone. This might be her last chance to send a message back to Earth. "This is Dr. Elena Rodriguez, colony leader at Kepler Research Station," she began, her voice steady despite the fear in her chest. "Today is day 183 of the Vectar blockade. We have 104 people here. Families, scientists, children." She paused to look at the photo on her desk. Her daughter, just 6 years old, smiled back at her from the frame. The little girl was sleeping now in the shelter below, along with the other colonists. "Our food supplies will last maybe 2 more weeks. The water recycler broke yesterday. We've tried to negotiate with the Vectar, but they won't respond to our messages. They just wait." Through the window, she could see the colony's empty streets. 6 months ago, children had played on those walkways. Scientists had walked to their labs, talking about their discoveries. Now everyone stayed underground, hiding from the alien sensors. The Vectar had seemed friendly at first. Tall beings with gray skin and 4 arms, they had traded with Earth for 20 years. No one had expected them to change so suddenly. No one had expected them to decide that human colonies were too far from Earth to defend. They were probably right. Earth was 6,000 light-years away. Even with the fastest ships, it would take weeks to get here. And why would Earth risk a war over one small research colony? Elena continued her message. "We've done nothing wrong. We came here to study the planet's unique ecosystem. We found new types of plants that could help feed Earth's growing population. We were making progress. Real, important progress." She heard footsteps in the hallway. Dr. Bill Crawford, her second in command, entered the room. His face looked thin and tired in the dim light. "Any response to our previous messages?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. Bill shook his head. "Nothing. It's like Earth has forgotten we exist." Elena turned back to the communication panel. "We understand," she said into the microphone. "We're too far away. The Vectar chose their target well. We know no one is coming. This will probably be our last message." Her voice cracked slightly. She thought about her daughter again, about all the children in the colony who would never see Earth's blue skies. "Tell our families we tried our best. Tell Earth that the Vectar aren't the friends we thought they were. And please, remember us." She ended the recording and sent it into space. The message would travel at light speed, reaching Earth in about 20 years. By then, it would be far too late. 3 weeks later, and countless light-years away, Captain John Murphy of the Earth defense vessel Valiant sat in his command chair. His communication officer, Lieutenant Sam Parker, suddenly straightened in his seat. "Captain, we're receiving a distress signal. It's using emergency protocols." Murphy leaned forward. "Source? It's from Kepler 438 bits, sir. The research colony." Murphy felt his chest tighten. He knew people at that colony. Good people. Put it through. Elena's voice filled the bridge. Every officer stopped what they were doing to listen. As the message played, Murphy's hands slowly formed into fists. "They think no one is coming," Parker said quietly when the message ended. Murphy stood up, his jaw set with determination. "They're wrong. Send this to Admiral Thompson immediately. Maximum priority." He looked around at his crew. "Those are our people out there. And we don't leave our people behind." The storm was about to begin. Admiral Lisa Thompson read Captain Murphy's report for the 3rd time. Her office aboard Earth's main orbital command station was quiet, but her mind was racing. The distress signal from Kepler 438 bits changed everything. She stood up and walked to the large window. Earth floated below, blue and white against the black of space. Somewhere out there, human colonists were counting their last days, believing their home world had abandoned them. Her aide, Commander Jack Foster, entered the room. "Admiral, the Vectar ambassador is requesting a meeting. He says it's about trade agreements." Lisa turned from the window. "Trade agreements? While they blockade our colony?" She shook her head. "Tell the ambassador I'm busy," and called an emergency meeting of all fleet commanders. "We meet in 1 hour." Commander Foster hesitated. "All of them." "Admiral, that's over 30 officers." "All of them," Lisa repeated, "and classify this meeting as Level 1 priority." The war room filled quickly. Admirals and captains from Earth's scattered fleets arrived through secure video links. Some were still rubbing sleep from their eyes, called from their rest cycles. They all knew something big was happening. Admiral Thompson stood before the massive display screen. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a situation." She played Elena's message. The room fell silent as they listened. When it ended, several officers shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Everyone understood what the Vectar were doing. They were testing humanity, seeing if Earth would fight for colonies so far from home. "How many ships do we have near Kepler?" asked Admiral Roger White from Mars Station. "None," Lisa replied. "The nearest patrol is 3,000 light-years away." Captain Beth Morgan spoke up from her ship near Jupiter. "The Vectar have 40 ships blockading the colony. Our intelligence reports say they're armed with plasma cannons and shield disruptors. Even if we could get there." "We're getting there," Lisa cut in. Her voice was steel. "The question is how many ships we're taking." The room stirred. Admiral White leaned forward. "Lisa, that's a 6-week journey at maximum speed. By the time we arrive, the Vectar will learn something about humanity," Lisa said. "They think distance makes us weak. They think we'll do the math, count the cost, and decide one colony isn't worth a war." She brought up a star map on the main screen. Kepler 400, and 38 bits blinked in red. So far from Earth it seemed impossible to reach. "They're wrong," she continued. "We've spent the last 50 years spreading across the galaxy because we believe in something. We believe humans help humans, no matter the distance, no matter the cost." Captain Murphy's face appeared on a side screen. "Admiral, my ship is ready. Just give the word." Lisa nodded. "I'm authorizing Operation Stormfront. We're sending 27 ships. Our fastest vessels, our best crews." She looked around the room. "I need volunteers." Every hand went up. Every single one. Over the next 72 hours, Earth's response took shape. Ships arrived from across the solar system. The new quantum drive engines were installed on every vessel. Weapons were loaded. Crews said goodbye to their families. In the engineering bay of the flagship Thunder, Chief Diane Johnson worked without sleep. "These engines weren't meant for a jump this long," her assistant warned. Diane kept working. "They'll hold. They have to. Those colonists are counting on us, even if they don't know it." 3 days later, the fleet was ready. 27 ships formed up in perfect formation. Admiral Thompson stood on the bridge of the Thunder, looking at the stars ahead. "All ships report ready," Commander Foster announced. Lisa nodded. "Open a channel to the fleet." Her voice reached every crew member on every ship. "You all know why we're here. The Vectar think humans are too scattered, too weak to protect our own. They're about to learn how wrong they are. When we arrive at Kepler, we arrive as one. We are the storm they never saw coming." She paused, then gave the order that would echo through human history. "All ships, engage quantum drives. Let's bring our people home." Space bent around the human fleet as they jumped toward Kepler 400 and 38 bits. The storm was on its way. Commander Alex Peterson gripped his chair as the stars stretched into lines around his ship. The quantum jump was almost over. For 6 weeks, the human fleet had pushed their engines to the limit, racing across the galaxy toward Kepler 400 and 38 bits. 10 seconds to normal space," announced Lieutenant Emma Clark from the navigation station. Alex watched the countdown on his screen. Around him, the bridge crew prepared for whatever waited on the other side. They had no recent intelligence about the Vectar positions. They were jumping in blind. 3, 2, 1, mark. The stars snapped back to points of light. Kepler 438 bits hung before them, a orange and brown world circled by thick clouds. And there, spread across space like a net, was the Vectar blockade. 42 enemy ships detected, reported Tactical Officer Paul Young. They're in a sphere formation around the planet. No way in or out. Alex studied the display. The Vectar ships were massive, each one 3 times the size of a human destroyer. Their black hulls reflected no light, making them look like holes in space. "Sir, we're being hailed," Emma said. "It's the Vectar command ship." "Put it through." The main screen filled with the image of a Vectar commander. The alien's gray skin looked almost metallic in the harsh ship lighting. Its 4 arms moved slowly as it spoke. "Human fleet, you are far from your territory. This system is now under Vectar protection. Your colony has been lawfully claimed. Turn back immediately." Alex stood up slowly. He practiced this moment in his mind 100 times during the journey. "This is Commander Alex Peterson of the United Earth Fleet. That colony contains human citizens. Release them immediately." The Vectar commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "You brought 27 ships. We have 42. Your mathematics are poor, human. Turn back now, and we will allow you to leave in peace." "You're right about the math," Alex replied. "But you're wrong about everything else. Our people are down there. We're taking them home." He cut the communication and turned to his crew. "All hands, battle stations. Signal the fleet. Formation Delta. Prepare for combat." Alarms sounded throughout the ship. On every human vessel, crews rushed to their positions, weapons powered up, shields activated. The human fleet spread out, smaller ships moving to flanking positions, while the larger vessels formed the center line. On the Vectar command ship, Supreme Commander Zareth watched the human movements with interest. "They're actually going to fight," he said to his second in command. "Fascinating. They traveled 6 weeks just to die here." His tactical officer's 4 hands moved over the controls. "Their ships are smaller. Supreme Commander, our shields are stronger. This will be a short battle." Zareth settled into his command throne. "Begin the attack. Target their lid ship. Show them the price of defying the Vectar Empire." Back on the human flagship Thunder, Admiral Thompson watched the tactical display. "They're moving to attack positions," she observed. "Commander Peterson, you have tactical command. Show them what humans can do." Alex nodded. "All ships, this is Peterson. Remember why we're here. Those are our people on that planet. They think no one came for them. Let's prove them wrong." He watched the Vectar ships advance. Their formation was perfect, textbook military tactics. But textbooks didn't know about humanity's newest weapons. "Distance to enemy fleet?" Alex asked. 5,000 kilometers in closing, Paul reported. "They'll be in their weapons range in 30 seconds. Alex smiled coldly. "Good. All ships, prepare quantum torpedoes. Target their command vessels. Let's introduce ourselves properly." In the torpedo bays of every human ship, crews loaded the new weapons. These torpedoes could phase out of normal space, pass through shields, and reappear inside enemy ships. The Vectar had never seen them before. The 2 fleets closed on each other. On Kepler 438 bits below, colonists huddled in their shelters, unaware that above them, the storm they never believed would come was about to break. "Enemy ships entering weapons range," Paul announced. Alex leaned forward. "All ships, fire." Lieutenant Maria Gonzalez watched her targeting screen as the quantum torpedoes launched. 27 human ships fired at once, sending over 100 torpedoes streaking through space. The weapons looked like normal missiles until they suddenly vanished, phasing out of regular space. On the Vectar command ship, alarms started screaming. "Supreme Commander, we're detecting something," the tactical officer reported, confusion in his voice. "The human weapons disappeared from our sensors." Zareth leaned forward. "Disappeared? That's impossible. Check your instruments." 3 seconds later, the quantum torpedoes reappeared inside 3 Vectar cruisers. The explosions came from within, bypassing shields and armor completely. The alien ships broke apart in brilliant flashes of light. "Impossible," Zareth whispered. Then louder, "All ships, evasive action. Return fire." The space between the 2 fleets filled with energy beams and missiles. Vectar plasma cannons sent green bolts toward the human ships. But the humans were already moving, their smaller vessels dancing between the incoming fire. Captain Susan Baker led her fighter squadron in a sharp dive under the main battle. "Red Squadron, stay tight. We're going for their supply ships in the rear." Her 12 fighters flew like a spear through space. The Vectar hadn't expected fighters. Their doctrine focused on large ship battles. Susan's squadron reached the enemy supply vessels before they could react. "Fox 2, she called, launching her missiles. The other fighters followed her lead. 12 supply ships exploded in quick succession, cutting off the Vectar fleet's resources. Back on the Thunder, Admiral Thompson watched the battle unfold. "Their formation is breaking," she observed. Commander Foster nodded. They weren't ready for the quantum torpedoes, or the fighters. They thought this would be easy. On the Vectar command ship, Zareth struggled to maintain control. His perfect formation was falling apart. Ships were trying to target the phasing torpedoes and failing. Others were turning to chase the human fighters, leaving gaps in their lines. "Supreme Commander, we've lost 15 ships," his second reported. "Their weapons? We can't stop them." Zareth's 4 hands gripped his command chair. This wasn't possible. The humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to run when faced with superior numbers. "Launch all fighters," he ordered. "Overwhelm them with numbers." The Vectar carriers opened their bays. Hundreds of angular fighters poured out, far more than the humans had. But as they formed up, something unexpected happened. Lieutenant Jake Coleman, flying lead for Blue Squadron, spotted the enemy fighters. "This is Blue Leader. Looks like about 300 enemy fighters launching. They outnumber us 10 to 1. Captain Murphy's voice came over the comm from the Valiant. "Blue Leader, you are authorized for swarm missiles. Light them up." Jake smiled. Each human fighter carried 2 swarm missiles, weapons that split into 50 smaller missiles each. "Copy that. Blue Squadron, target the fighter formations. Fire." 24 swarm missiles launched from the human fighters. In seconds, they split apart, becoming over 1,000 smaller missiles. The Vectar fighters flew straight into the swarm. The space around Kepler 438 bits lit up with explosions. Hundreds of Vectar fighters vanished in the missile storm. The survivors scattered, their formation completely broken. On the Thunder, Alex Peterson watched the tide turn. "All ships, press the attack. Don't give them time to regroup." The human fleet pushed forward. Quantum torpedoes continued to phase through shields. Human destroyers picked off damaged Vectar ships. The fighters harassed the enemy from all angles. In the colony below, Dr. Elena Rodriguez felt the ground shake. She looked up at the shelter ceiling. What was that? Bill Crawford checked his instruments. Explosions in orbit. Big ones. Someone's fighting up there. Elena's eyes widened. Could it be? Had someone actually come? Above them, the Vectar fleet was in full retreat. Ships were breaking formation, trying to escape the human assault. What had started as 42 vessels was down to 20 and falling fast. Supreme Commander Zareth watched his mighty fleet crumble. These humans fought like nothing he'd ever seen. They adapted, they improvised, and they showed no mercy. "Supreme Commander," his communications officer called out. 3 of our ships are signaling surrender. The storm had arrived, and it was just beginning. Major Ryan Cooper stood in the drop ship's loading bay, checking his armor one last time. Around him, 50 Marines did the same. The space battle still raged above them, but their mission was clear: get to the surface and secure the colony. 30 seconds to drop, the pilot announced over the comm. Ryan looked at his team. Some were veterans who'd served with him for years. Others were young soldiers on their first real mission. All of them knew what was at stake. "Listen up," Ryan called out. "The Vectar have a military base half a click from our colony. We take that base. We free our people." Questions. Private Jake Martinez raised his hand. "Sir, what's the resistance looking like?" "Intel shows about 200 Vectar ground troops," Ryan replied. "They think they're safe down there. They're about to learn different." The dropship shuddered as it entered the atmosphere. Through the small windows, Ryan could see the orange sky of Kepler 438 bits rushing past. Other dropships flew alongside them, carrying more Marines to the surface. In the Vectar ground base, Commander Veltok watched his security screens with growing alarm. The human ships had broken through the blockade. Now dropships were descending toward the planet. "Prepare all ground forces," he ordered. "Set up defensive positions around the base." His second-in-command looked uncertain. "Sir, we've never fought humans on the ground before." Veltok's 4 arms moved dismissively. "They're smaller than us. Weaker. We have the advantage here." The dropships hit the ground hard, their doors flying open. Marines poured out, boots hitting the alien soil. Ryan led from the front, his rifle up and ready. "Move, move, move," he shouted. "Alpha Team, left flank. Bravo Team, with me." The landscape was strange. Purple grass, twisted trees with orange leaves. But the Marines didn't have time to admire the view. The Vectar base loomed ahead, a dark structure surrounded by energy shields. The first Vectar defensive fire came from the base walls. Energy bolts sizzled through the air. Ryan dove behind a rock formation, his team following. "Return fire," he ordered. "Martinez, get that rocket launcher up here." Jake Martinez ran forward, the heavy weapon on his shoulder. He sighted on the shield generator and fired. The rocket streaked across the open ground and hit its target. The energy shield flickered and died. "Shields down," Jake reported. "We've got an opening." Ryan stood up. "All teams, advance. Into the breach." The Marines charged forward. The Vectar had expected a careful, measured attack. Instead, they got humans running full speed at their positions, firing as they came. Private Amy Chen was first through the base's outer wall. She came face to face with a Vectar soldier. The alien was huge, over 7 feet tall, with 4 arms holding a massive plasma rifle. Amy didn't hesitate. She rolled under the alien's fire, came up inside its reach, and fired 3 shots center mass. The Vectar fell backward, surprised that such a small human could move so fast. Inside the base, Commander Veltok watched his forces falling back. These humans fought like wild animals. They used cover, worked in teams, and seemed to have no fear. "Sir, they'd breached the inner courtyard," a soldier reported. "They're heading for the command center." Veltok grabbed his personal weapon. "All forces, fall back to the colony. We'll use the human civilians as shields." Ryan heard the retreat order over captured Vectar comms. "They're running for the colony," he told his team. "We can't let them reach our people. Double time." The Marines sprinted through the base, past abandoned Vectar positions. The aliens were bigger and stronger, but the humans were faster and more determined. At the colony's main entrance, Dr. Elena Rodriguez heard explosions and gunfire getting closer. She peeked through a small window and gasped. Human soldiers in full combat gear were running toward them, chasing retreating Vectar forces. "Open the doors," she shouted. "They're our people. They came for us." The heavy colony doors groaned open just as the first Marines arrived. Ryan Cooper burst through the entrance, his weapon trained on the fleeing Vectar. Elena stared at him in shock. "You came," she whispered. "You actually came." Ryan lowered his weapon and smiled. "Ma'am, humans don't leave humans behind. Now let's get you and your people to safety." Supreme Commander Zareth stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Half his fleet was gone. His ground forces were in full retreat. The humans he had dismissed as weak were tearing through his blockade like paper. "Damage report," he commanded, his voice shaking. His tactical officer's forehands moved frantically over the controls. 26 ships destroyed. 5 surrendered. Ground forces report total loss of the surface base. The humans have secured their colony. Zareth slumped in his command chair. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. The humans were scattered across the galaxy. They weren't supposed to care about one small colony so far from Earth. On the Thunder, Admiral Lisa Thompson watched the Vectar fleet breaking apart. "They're panicking," she observed. "Their command structure is collapsing." Alex Peterson nodded from his station. 3 more ships just powered down weapons. They're signaling surrender. Lisa activated the fleet-wide communication. "All human vessels, this is Admiral Thompson. Accept surrenders from any Vectar ship that powers down weapons. We're not here for revenge. We're here for our people." Her voice reached every human ship, but more importantly, it reached the Vectar vessels too. Her words were being translated by their systems. On a damaged Vectar cruiser, Captain Corval listened to the human admiral. His ship was leaking atmosphere. Half his crew was dead. The humans had every right to destroy him. "Sir," his weapons officer asked, "your orders?" Corval looked at his remaining crew. They were afraid, not just of death, but of these humans who fought with such fierce loyalty to their own kind. "Power down all weapons," he ordered. "Signal our surrender." One by one, more Vectar ships followed. Their captains had seen enough. The humans weren't the weak species they'd been told about. These were warriors who crossed the galaxy to save 100 colonists. On the planet's surface, Major Ryan Cooper supervised the surrender of the Vectar ground forces. The aliens laid down their weapons, their 4 arms raised in submission. Commander Veltok approached Ryan, his head lowered. "I do not understand," the alien said. "Why did you come so far? Why risk so much for so few?" Ryan looked at the alien commander. "Because they're our people. That's all the reason we need." In space, Admiral Thompson opened a channel to the Vectar command ship. Zareth's image appeared on her screen. The once proud commander looked defeated. "Supreme Commander," Lisa began, "order your remaining ships to stand down. This battle is over." Zareth's gray skin had turned almost white. "You've won, Admiral. But at what cost? You've started a war over one colony." Lisa leaned forward. "No, Supreme Commander. You started this when you blockaded our people. We're finishing it, and we're sending a message to the entire galaxy." She gestured to her communications officer. "Open a channel on all frequencies. I want everyone to hear this." Her voice broadcast across the star system and beyond. "This is Admiral Lisa Thompson of the United Earth Fleet. The Vectar Empire believed that distance made humanity weak. They thought we would abandon our colonies if they were far enough from Earth. They were wrong." In the colony below, Elena Rodriguez and the other colonists listened to radios they hadn't used in months. Tears ran down many faces as they heard the Admiral's words. "Let this be clear to all species," Lisa continued. "Attack one human, you attack all humans. Threaten our colonies, and we will come. Distance means nothing. Time means nothing. We will always come for our own." On the Vectar command ship, Zareth gave the order he never thought he would. "All remaining vessels, power down weapons. The humans have. They have won." The remaining Vectar ships went dark, their weapons systems shutting down. The battle was over. But the message would spread across the galaxy like ripples in a pond. Captain Murphy smiled as he watched the surrenders. He opened a channel to the colony. Kepler Research Station. This is Captain John Murphy. You're safe now. We're here to take you home. Alina's voice came back, thick with emotion. Captain, we thought we were alone. No one is alone, Murphy replied. Not while other humans draw breath. That's our promise. The storm had struck, and the galaxy would never forget its fury. Ambassador Paul Davidson stood before the Vectar High Council 6 weeks after the battle. The Grand Chamber on the Vectar homeworld was silent. 12 council members sat in their high seats, their gray faces showing no emotion. Paul was alone. No guards, no assistants. Just one human facing the leadership of an empire that had tried to steal a human colony. The message was clear. Humanity didn't fear them anymore. High Counselor Zector spoke first. Ambassador Davidson, your fleet's actions at Kepler 438 bits were unexpected. Paul remained calm. Our actions were necessary. High Counselor, you blockaded our colony. You threatened our citizens. What did you expect? Another council member leaned forward. We expected negotiation, trade discussions, not a full military response. You expected us to abandon our people, Paul corrected. You counted on distance to protect you. You thought wrong. The council members shifted uncomfortably. They had ruled their empire for centuries. No species had ever challenged them like this. Paul continued. For 20 years, we traded with you. We called you friends. Then you decided our colonies were too far from Earth to defend. You saw weakness where there was only distance. High Counselor Zector raised one of his 4 hands. The colony was in our sphere of influence. By galactic law. By whose law? Paul interrupted. Yours? The law that says you can take what you want from smaller species. He shook his head. Those days are over. He activated a holographic display. Images from the battle appeared in the air. Vectar ships exploding, their ground forces surrendering, the human fleet standing victorious. Your military believed humans were weak, Paul said. You thought our preference for peace meant we couldn't fight. You learned the truth at Kepler. Council member Velmar spoke up. What are your terms, Ambassador? What does Earth want? Paul smiled slightly. It wasn't a warm smile. First, immediate withdrawal from all systems within 500 light-years of any human colony. Second, reparations to the Kepler colonists, food, medical supplies, and technology to rebuild what you damage. The council members looked at each other. These terms were harsh but not impossible. Third, Paul continued, a 50-year restriction on your military expansion. No new warships. No aggressive moves against any species. Now the council reacted with anger. That's outrageous. One member shouted, We are the Vectar Empire. We do not accept such limitations. Paul's voice turned cold. You have a choice. Accept these terms or face the consequences. Our fleet is still in your territory. More ships arrive daily. High Counselor Zector studied the human carefully. You're bluffing. Earth doesn't want a war. You're right, Paul agreed. We don't want war. We wanted peace. We wanted trade. We wanted friendship. You took that choice away when you threatened our people. He walked closer to the council platform. Let me explain something about humans. We'll go to extraordinary lengths to avoid fighting. We'll negotiate. We'll compromise. We'll turn the other cheek. But touch our families, threaten our communities, and we become something else entirely. The chamber fell silent again. The council members had read the reports from Kepler. They'd seen what 27 human ships did to 42 of their best vessels. Council member Turval asked quietly, If we refuse your terms? Paul met his gaze. Then every species in the galaxy will learn what the Vectar learned at Kepler. Humans protect their own, no matter the cost. He turned to leave, then stopped. You have 48 hours to decide. Our fleet commanders are not known for their patience. As Paul walked out, High Counselor Zector finally spoke. Stop. We accept your terms. Paul nodded without turning around. Wise choice. Our diplomats will arrive tomorrow to finalize the treaty. He left the chamber, leaving 12 of the galaxy's most powerful leaders sitting in stunned silence. They had ruled through strength for generations. Now they had met something stronger. Not military might, not advanced technology. They had met the iron will of a species that would cross the galaxy to save 100 of their own. The age of Vectar dominance was over. The human storm had changed everything. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in her rebuilt laboratory, watching the morning sun rise over Kepler 438 bits. The orange light looked different now. It no longer felt like the light of a prison. It felt like home. 1 year had passed since the day humanity's fleet broke through the Vectar blockade. The colony had not just survived, it had grown. New buildings rose from the ground. Ships arrived monthly with supplies and new colonists. The research station buzzed with activity. Dr. Rodriguez, a young voice called from the doorway. Elena turned to see her assistant, David Park, holding a datapad. He had arrived 6 months ago, eager to join what people now called the colony that brought the storm. The botanical samples from Sector 7 are ready, David reported. The new growth is remarkable. Those food plants we discovered could feed millions back on Earth. Elena smiled. Let's go take a look. As they walked through the colony's streets, Elena remembered how empty these paths had been during the blockade. Now children played in the gardens. Scientists discussed their work at outdoor cafes. Construction crews built new homes. They passed the memorial wall, where the names of the 5 colonists who died during the blockade were carved in stone. But beside those names was a larger inscription: "No human stands alone." Captain John Murphy stood before that same wall. He had returned to Kepler for the anniversary celebration. His ship, the Valiant, now patrolled this sector of space, ensuring the colony's safety. Dr. Rodriguez, he called out as she approached. Good to see you again. They shook hands warmly. These two had never met in person until after the rescue, but they shared a bond forged in desperate times. I hear you've made incredible progress with your research, Murphy said. Elena nodded. The plants we're studying could revolutionize agriculture on Earth's colonies. The blockade nearly destroyed us, but in a strange way, it led to something better. How so? Before, we were just another research outpost. Now, we're a symbol. Every human in the galaxy knows that Earth will come for them, no matter how far they are from home. Murphy understood. The story of Kepler 438 bits had spread across human space and beyond. Parents told their children about the fleet that crossed 6,000 light years to save 100 people. It had become a legend, a promise. That evening, the colony held its anniversary celebration. Hundreds gathered in the main square, including visitors from Earth and other colonies. Admiral Lisa Thompson had come for the occasion, along with many of the soldiers and ship crew who had participated in the rescue. Elena stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd. 1 year ago, we sent a message into space. We believed we were alone. We thought no one would come. She paused, her voice thick with emotion. We were wrong. And that mistake taught the galaxy something important about humanity. In the crowd, Major Ryan Cooper stood with his Marines. They had stayed to help rebuild and train a colonial defense force. The Vectar were gone, but other species now knew about Kepler 438 bits. Admiral Thompson joined Elena at the podium. The Vectar Empire thought distance was our weakness. They believed humans were too scattered to protect each other. They learned that human bonds grow stronger with distance, not weaker. Fireworks began to light the alien sky. Children laughed and pointed at the colors. The celebration continued into the night, but the message was clear to anyone watching. As the evening wound down, Murphy found himself in conversation with Elena again. What really drove such a massive response? She asked. Earth risked war for our small colony. Murphy's answer was simple. You sent a message saying no one would come. We had to prove you wrong. That's what humans do. We show up for each other, especially when the storm is at its worst. Across the galaxy, the story spread. The Vectar never again threatened human colonies. Other species learned to respect human space, and on 1,000 worlds, humans looked at the stars with new confidence. They knew now that no matter how far they traveled, no matter how dark the night, they were never truly alone. When the storm came, humanity would answer, swift, united, and unstoppable.